Okay,
Go ahead.
this is Sunil Hazari from the Department of Marketing in the Richards College of Business. And I would like to share with you my experience with providing feedback in online courses. Now, I have been at University of West Georgia for almost 17 years now, and I've taught face-to-face courses, hybrid courses, and online courses. And the challenge I've faced is the same feedback that I can give to students in face-to-face class is much, much different when the course goes online. So I've picked up a few things that have helped me become a more effective instructor. And a large portion of this is because I'm able to give better feedback. So in this presentation, I would like to share with you the following items. First, we look at why feedback is important. And then I've done some publishing work. I've published some articles on this very topic. So I'll share with you my research on feedback. And I'll explain the whole thing for an online course. How do I set up the course so that it's available to give feedback to students, the components which I give feedback, then the different types of feedback that I give, as well as some technology tools that have literally saved me many, many hours instead of being cumbersome and writing out the same thing in detail over and over again. So that is the agenda for the presentation. About 20 years ago, when I first started teaching online, we didn't know much about it. There was very little theory about online learning and pedagogy. So I did some research with co-authors, and one of these articles led to a publication, and that was how do we use feedback to improve teaching in online courses. At that time, the terms web-based courses, online learning were synonymous. So the challenge was we didn't have great tools like Blackboard and Course 10. So any feedback mechanisms that were built in had to be designed using HTML. So we learned HTML, like most faculty members, struggled through it. But fast forwarding 20 years, it has become a whole lot easy, and students have benefited from the built-in tools that are available. So this article has been widely cited, and I'm surprised after 20 years, it is continuing to be cited by some researchers. So why feedback? Why is feedback important? The first thing is that providing feedback to students improves student learning. The reason is that they are able to look at the comments on what they need to do better and what they have done well. And what that does, it helps motivate them to understand what the expectations are. It helps students monitor progress. If students are not doing well, we can identify those students and give them a different type of feedback as compared to students are doing very well. Students, especially in pandemic situations like we are, we see that students are concerned because many students have not taken online courses before. So by reaching out to them, by asking them how they're doing, by providing help in Zoom sessions, in phone calls, it just shows concern and students appreciate it. And the first 3 bullet points lead to the final point is the students know that you care about them, so it improves your course evaluations. Talking about course evaluations, if you look at the standard course evaluation form for the university, question number 27 and 28 are the two that really target student feedback and what students have to say about the course evaluation methods and the instructor effectiveness. So I've just taken 4 snippets from the recently concluded spring session and looked at what were some of the common themes in those feedback so that I can keep doing that more and more for future classes. And what I've done is over the past 10 years, I have put all those open-ended comments online. So when class starts, I shared that link with my students saying that, hey, there's a lot of students who've taken the same course before, and this is what they had to say. And I give them the link. Some of them go in and look at the detailed um, evaluation that is provided by other students, and they know that based on the comments, they see that the course is tough, but the evaluation methods are fair, and I give a lot of feedback. So it just puts them in a positive frame of mind, so that they know that if they submit an assignment, they are going to get feedback which will help them do better. As far as review of literature, there has been a lot of work done on feedback in general over the past 50 years. But more specifically, over the last 10 to 15 years, there have been authors who have really gone deep into the online portion, the online courses, and they have identified similarities and differences in providing feedback for students who are in face-to-face classes or online courses. So going back to like 40, 50 years ago, I cited this article, Ghani and Breaks researchers who did a lot of work with face-to-face classes. And they said that when teaching, we really need to understand students' needs and what their expectations are. So there is a need for evaluating student understanding. And what that does is it directly and indirectly improves the quality and success of courses that other researchers have found. The goal of any course is to help establish learning outcomes and see if students are meeting those outcomes. So by providing feedback, you're able to enhance those learning outcomes, as some researchers have found. And then other researchers have gone into a little bit more detail on what types of feedback is most effective. So they've shown there is three types: emotional feedback, relation feedback, and social aspects. That are different types of feedbacks that can be given to students. And I've given you the reference if you are interested in following up on those aspects of feedback. These articles have been very helpful to me. So overall, what we are trying to do is we are trying to provide needs for students to be met, and those include psychological needs, and also we are trying to help students with their metacognitive ability, that they have the ability to learn and understand what they are learning. So as an instructor, you're doing your part by providing these scaffolding to students so that they can build on the knowledge base and that results in excellent work that they are able to show, which is reinforced by the feedback you're giving them. The best way to give feedback is by using rubrics, two different types of rubrics: holistic and analytic. Analytic is a little bit more detailed, as you will see in the three examples that I use. So you have a grid, and pretty much you give them points based on how well they're able to meet the criteria in each section. So then there can be a slightly general type of feedback. I use this in the Principles of Marketing course, that they have to come up with a marketing plan. And this is the rubric that is given to them. And before this, I also have them submit progress reports, which uses a similar type of rubric. And that way they are familiar with the rubric and the expectations. But the thing I like most is this open-ended comment section in the rubric. So I would encourage faculty members to provide qualitative comments, because the scores, they stop meaning a lot to students after a while. But if you are reaching out to them and giving them more qualitative feedback that relates to the specific assignment that they have turned in, it makes a lot of difference. I'm a visual person, so this is the conceptual framework that I use for evaluating and providing feedback. So in any course, the first thing you would do is set learning outcomes and standards for each assignment. And within the assignment, you say that these are the expectations. the students complete the task, and based on the assignment that they have completed as a result of this task, you then do the evaluation and provide feedback. Now, these two blocks, the evaluation block and the feedback block, should always be tied to the expectations, and that results in improvement. And when you see the next assignment, you will notice that as a result of your feedback and your evaluation, there is much improvement in meeting the next set of standards. So this is just a visual representation to kind of help see how feedback ties in with the whole instructional process. Now, different types of feedback. When students submit an assignment, rather than just focusing on the content, there are different layers. So, for example, the first thing you can do is show appreciation of the work they have put in. If they have references, if you ask for one references, they've given you two, that is great. Appreciate that work that the student have done. And always a good idea to start with agreeing with the student. So the student has made a statement, given an opinion, supported by reference. Agree with the student saying, hey, this is great. And then go into a little bit more detail. And you do that by providing links to resources, by asking questions, and following there towards the end. Encourage the student to do more. Even if it's a good student, there's always room for improvement, and encouragement helps students a lot, keeps them motivated, knowing that you are a guide on the side by providing this feedback process, which will help them. And students are looking for something that goes beyond just book learning. So I bring in my consulting experience saying that, hey, this was the client and this was the scenario. This is how I tackled the problem. And what that does is it helps them understand the industry side of things as well as the academic side of things. So I tell them that opinions are fine, but opinions should be supported with references so that you have something to hang your hat on. And that combines with trade publications, news information, all of that combines together to give a holistic learning experience. Technology has made a lot of difference in facilitating feedback. Now, if you do an online search, you'll see many different ways in which technology can help with feedback. For example, there are text expanders where you type in a certain key and it expands into sentences. There are macros where it does the same thing, some key combination, and it gives you a paragraph of pre-written text. Course then lets you give students audio feedback also. I'm aware of these, but I don't use it a whole lot. But the ones that I use are just standard templates that I'll show you, and a tool that I found which has saved me literally hours and hours of work, and that's a clipboard manager. So let's take a look at that. The tool that I use currently after evaluating and using dozens of similar products is the Ditto clipboard that is available for free. And this is on the Windows machine. There are equivalent products on the Mac platform. Unfortunately, I don't use Macs, but I'm aware of some of these tools that students have found. So I'll share those with you. Just drop me an email. Coming back to the Ditto clipboard, what it does is the traditional Windows platform has a clipboard, but the clipboard can hold only one item at a time. In the recent update that just came out, there is a clipboard which is slightly enhanced. It can do more than one, but the thing is, if you turn the machine off and come back tomorrow or in another session, all of that information is gone. Ditto addresses those limitations by keeping a log of multiple clips that you can have copied into it. And it's up to you to set up, like if you want just 5 clips, 10 clips, 500 clips, it'll do that for you in the setting. It goes beyond text. You can do images, you can do HTML code, you can have other information that you can store. And then you can have what are called sticky clips. I'm going to show you an example of that. So if you use the same sentences for students, then you can have that pinned on top so that you don't have to go looking for it. Let's say if you have 200 different clips. So these are some tricks that I have used to kind of speed up the feedback process, and I try to return feedback to students as quickly as possible for the recency effect. So the assignment is still fresh in their mind, so the feedback is most helpful for them. And as you'll see, the Ditto program is great. It's highly customizable. So here is an example. The top left shows you my current clipboard. So you'll see the clip art that I used in this presentation. I was tracking a UPS packet at that time. There was an abstract for an article I was writing. I was looking at a YouTube video that I had copied. So all of this stay on your clipboard. You can manually delete it or separate it into groups. You can send to other programs. You can view the whole description of it. You can do special paste. That means the paste in pure plain text format, or keep the formatting. You can compare different clips that you have done. So it has a lot of features. Obviously, we can't cover this in the short presentation, but the clips themselves can be organized. I use this quite a bit, the make stop sticky note, sticky clip. And the reason for that is, here's an excerpt of a list of feedback that I give for an assignment. So this is an assignment in the marketing research course where the students have to go out and look at a secondary source and report on that source. The discussion is out of 20 points. So I have templates. So if a student meets the criteria for 20 points, this is what I give them, this whole section. So I have copied this section as my top sticky clip. Okay, then let's say 14 points. I do have word count requirements for the discussion. Then this can be my second or third sticky clip. So all I would do is I would right click on this section over here and then tell it where I want that sticky clip to be. So as you can see, those clips can be useful because you can just copy and paste them very quickly, and you can do that for large classes. In the summer course, I have 47 students, and I just finished grading this morning's assignment. It took me less than half an hour because the feedback templates were available to me, and I was able to customize them based on what the student has written. So this thing has been very helpful, the Ditto Clipboard program, very helpful, and I've used it for a few semesters now, and I will continue to use that because it has just been great for me. So in conclusion, there are some tips I would like to share with you that will just help you become an effective instructor as far as feedback is concerned. The first thing is, I can use that template, but then I usually like to start with hi and then the name of the student. By using a name, you personalize the feedback, and students know you're just talking to them and not just a general email to the whole class. So this is a simple trick. Just use the first name of a student. Show concern before you get into the nitty-gritty of feedback. Relate the feedback saying, hey, we know this is a difficult time for you, and empathize with the student. Bring in social aspects, saying other students are also feeling the same thing, but I'm glad you were able to do this assignment on time, and this is what I found when I reviewed the assignment. So what you're doing is you're bringing in, again, a larger perspective that goes beyond the specific assignment. Be positive and respectful no matter what the student have said. I know it's hard at times, especially for large classes, but remember, you're dealing with a student one-on-one. In an online environment, what you say may be completely different from what is received. But by being polite, respectful, positive, it just puts the student in a positive frame of reference. If you see a student making the same mistake week after week or assignment after assignment, it is time to go back to what you had said in the past and repeat the same thing, saying that, hey, in the previous assignment, you did the same thing. If you're having problems with this, I am available. And offer examples, like we can do a phone call, we can do a Zoom conference, or you can just send me an email. So by relating previous feedback, you're able to establish continuity that the students appreciate. And the biggest beneficiaries of students are struggling students. So reach out to them more than you would for students who are doing well. Okay? I always recognize exemplary student because that is kind of validation for their work, and that's a type of feedback that they appreciate. I've seen that in the end of the semester evaluation. You see that the instructor recognized my work, and I am very appreciative of that. That is literally what they have said many, many times. And the last point I have is make sure the feedback is timely. I was talking about giving feedback quickly as soon as assignments are over. Be consistent with the feedback. So if you're giving short feedback for certain assignments, do the same thing for all students. And make sure that the feedback that you give for the assignment is relevant. And you can do that by making sure that the assignment feedback is relational, emotional, and social. So these are just some tips that I have learned over the past few years, which has resulted in my students being motivated and give course evaluations to me, which again I make available to students to show that the course is relevant to what they're doing, and it just helps keep them motivated. So I hope this session has been useful. And if you have any questions, I have resources available on my website, or feel free to email me, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.